Welcome, everybody. This is John Paul Meducci, Dr. Speed Selling, and this is the Raging Verbalist number 175. For those of you who are just joining us for the very first time, just want to remind you that you want to hit that like and that subscribe, and if you want to get annoyed, the notifications. Quickly, also we're on Facebook at Position to Win Book Group, Position to Win Book Group, and you can go check us out there. And we happen every week, unless we get some crazy travel on my part or something else. Don't wander too far off into politics, but talk about something that's interesting, exciting. And today we have one of those topics that I've been thinking about a lot lately. And as always, we have the ever lovely Sandra, who will be asking me these questions, putting me on the spot, not letting me off the hook. Well, I mean, she's going to do some of that stuff. Anyway, Sandra, welcome.
Hello, how are you doing?
Doing great. I'm glad that we're able to get this thing together and all that. And it looks like you have bright, sunny weather in Nebraska today.
We do. It's been very windy the last few days, but other than that, the temperatures are warming up and the sun is shining. So no complaints here.
The ice sheet is pulling back and away we go. Got it.
That's right.
All right, so this one's about something that I call There's Trouble in Paradise. And what are we talking about today?
All right, so we'll dive right in. What is the current state of the computer market?
Well, I've been around tech a long time, and it is interesting to watch these trends take place. So did a little bit of research, did some things that maybe you don't think about or aren't aware of, but the Gartner Group says that worldwide PC shipments declined 28.5% in the fourth quarter, and overall of 2022, and last quarter and the whole year it's 16.2% decline. So not good. In fact, the PC market has been in a rocky space. When the pandemic hit, everybody went out and bought something new, and they were staying at home, and there was lots of upgrades and lots of that stuff. But that was really a blip up in what has been a kind of a tumultuous time in the computer industry.
All right, and where is this trend going?
Well, I think the trend is got some big headwinds. That's a nice way of saying it's going into a kind of a shit storm, and that storm is that you've got fewer and fewer people buying desktops. You've got the collapse of the pricing on some of these things. And, we're starting to see a real sea change to take place in the industry itself. And that is one of those things that, no matter what business you're in today, you can't assume it's going to hang in there and not be markedly changed in 5 or 10 years. So whenever I hear people saying, well, I really want to come up with a 5-year plan, if you can predict that far out in the future, just go on the Facebook group and get a hold of Sandra, and we'll probably send you a plane ticket if you can prove us that you can do that, because really hard to do. I see the industry itself continuing to go through contractions and pain and suffering. There's lots of inventory that's been built up because people thought this was, we're on an upward slope, but in fact we were not or are not. And so that's why I think the trend is decidedly to the downside. I could be proven wrong, but I think it's decidedly to the downside for desktops and even laptops.
And you recently purchased a small PC for under $210. So that has to be a joke, right?
Well, you would think so. And a few years ago, when the small PCs started coming out, the Nooks, and you see and I always thought when that came out, that it was because somebody was like a Three Stooges fan, and it was in memory of Curly and Nook Nook Nook. But no, it turns out it actually is an acronym of something. But I like the Stooges thinking. But anyway, it's this mini size. In fact, Apple's Mac Mini, I have several of those that I've owned. And what I was doing is I was watching this trend. I want to build. Frankly, I want to build a Zoom box, and the Zoom box isn't where you go Zoom, but it's using Zoom all the time and trying to find a way around some of these issues that I've run into. And there was this little Nook, and it kept dropping in price in Amazon. And actually, I know you said $210. Turns out it was $209. and the numbers are nuts. First off, it's got 16 gigs of RAM and 500 terabytes of, or gigabytes, not terabytes, 500 gigabytes of storage. And I mean, it's like, oh man, this is nuts. So we start looking at that, you just start going, wait a second, $209, and it has Windows Pro 11. It's got 2 HDMI ports, so you can run 2 monitors that are 4K. And you start going through it, and you're like, this is crazy. Now that just explains why this trend is continuing. And in fact, I'm having the box built with both Windows and Linux, and hopefully it will, improve some of the broadcasts that we're doing and all of that. But it is, you would think it's a joke, but it is a real workhorse. And the guy who does configurations for me is quite impressed by the performance, especially given the fact that probably retail on Windows 11 Pro, and I know you can get it cheaper, is like $200 in and of itself. So quite an amazing hunk of technology, and we'll give you an update down the road on it. But yeah, that's something that kind of shocked me, and I just see it as anybody who owns a business, and we're going to talk a little bit more about this, but you got to think about how these little small computers, which don't give up a lot in performance, are going to be usable other places.
Right. And is this the first time we've seen these types of disruptions in the computer industry?
To an outsider, the computer industry looks really stable. It looks like it's been on this ever-growing trajectory, and just growth and moving on and all that stuff. But what's happened, of course, is that over the years is that companies have come, they've become really big, and then kaboom, the next wave comes and crashes and blows them out of the water. In fact, there's a very large Schwab fund, an ETF, that just kicked IBM out of their fund, primarily because they're moving on. And you just start looking at it and you say, well, is this the first time? The answer is no. What is different is the fact that we are seeing more utilization of technology than ever, and yet we're seeing people moving in other directions and new marketplaces. Now that's important because for a long time, there was always this assumption that you had these protected enclaves, the desktop market or the laptop market or whatever it might be, that they were going to be fixed and that those positions would be fixed. In fact, one of the reasons for going out and taking the energy and time and writing the book, which is most businesses fail in the first 5 minutes, it just takes them 3 to 5 years to realize it. The reason why I wrote the book was primarily because I saw businesses, people would go and start a business and they wouldn't take that into account. I do not look at the marketplace as being fixed, finite whatsoever. Literally, we are dealing with a very dynamic market. And because of it, you have to really think about not only what your position is today, but it isn't like a set it and forget it. This isn't like, you're done, one and done, because that's not the way it works. In fact, the most important thing about this book is that it teaches you how to pivot and why pivoting is so important. And pivoting is all about dealing with the world as it is. And right now, the computer industry is dealing with rather a lot of changes. Also, one of the trends that's driving this thing, now point to the right book, is remote work for a better world. Now you can get books at Amazon, Barnes & Noble, Books A Million, and you can go to positiontowinbook.com, positiontowinbook.com. Check it out. Lots of free, cool stuff there. And then also you can go on the Facebook page and ask some questions. So, all right, Sandra, what's the next question?
All right. And doesn't everyone need at least a laptop?
Well, you would think so, and I would be of that mindset, but there appears to be a serious undercurrent of that, and this trend is that, and it's a demographic change. And once there's a demographic change, as Peter Drucker said, you really have to pay attention to it because the world changes, and that demographic wave will move in a different direction. It appears that Gen Z does not see a necessity, not that doesn't have capability, but a necessity to have a laptop with them at all times. In fact, there is a big push now to buying bigger and better and faster smartphones, iPhone, Android, whatever that might be, and move away from that direction that we've been faced with. And that's a thing that's happening a lot more today. And so, though I would agree with you that I think that everyone should have a laptop, it appears that there's a lot of maneuvering to a different direction and doing computer, using a computer in a different way.
And how do you determine what you should or shouldn't buy?
My easiest way to say that is, what is your use case? What are you buying this thing to do? Now, I happen to be one of these people who buys a phone to make phone calls, but that turns out to not be what people are doing more of. They're using it for messaging, they're using it for video, they're using it for, listening to all kinds of media, music, surfing the web. So as your use case changes, that changes what you should or shouldn't buy. I do believe that most people would benefit from having a very stable, really high powered computer so they can do some of these things. I mean, it's great to think you have this power and capability in the palm of your hand, but it's also a good idea to be able to have, a large screen and some of those things. However, since there's like about, I don't know, a bazillion YouTube videos about where a guy takes, a person, a technologist person, I guess, to be more politically correct here. How's that for bad English? But anyway, is where they'll take an Android phone and they'll plug it in and whiz bang, they've got a complete computer right there. So I think that's going to keep happening. But I think you got to look at your use case and then, don't underbuy. In other words, I mean, it's great to think you can do all this with one type of machine. My belief is that it's going to be distributed and broken up into pieces, and that makes a lot of sense.
And given all the alternatives, what do you carry as a road warrior?
So this has changed over the years. Years ago, I used to carry a complete sound studio with me. I mean, literally, I would carry, microphones and mixers and all of that. And maybe, some of you may say, well, geez, John, maybe I should start doing that again. But I've actually gotten to the point of where I carry a laptop, and I've got a big beast of a laptop that has a lot of performance, a lot of capability. Most of the glitches that will crop up are the interaction between the internet and Zoom and on and on. So we're working to correct that. But the other thing is that you are out there and you're saying, okay, as a road warrior, I carry a laptop, I carry an iPad, and I carry multiple cell phones. So I have actually 4 cell phones. I've got 3 Android phones. No, actually 2 Android phones and 2 iOS phones because I have 6 different businesses, and don't get me started.
All right. And for entrepreneurs and business owners, can you clear up the confusion and give some recommendations?
Yes. Simplest thing is to decide what you want to do with this thing, but more importantly, what area, what world you want to live in. Now, if you are an Apple person, and I'm a person who straddles multiple worlds, so I guess I'm like riding 2 giant buffalo and having flaming hair or whatever the hell it is. But anyway, I mean, I have Apple products and I have Windows products, and soon I have a Linux box. But I think that if you are going to be all in one enclave or one garden, probably the best is going to be Apple, because that way you can have the laptop and the phone and the pad and this, it all talks to each other. It's going to cost you premium money. It will be beyond that. And it's a walled garden. If you're a person who needs more flexibility or you're a bang for your bucker, then you can go out into the Windows world. I will tell you that there are pros and cons of each, and it sounds like I'm probably giving you more confusion. What I will tell you is buy as much memory as you can, buy as much hard disk space as you can, or not, I guess not hard disk space anymore. Buy as big a mass storage as you possibly can, and more importantly, learn how to run your machine more effectively. And if you do that, you're going to actually be better off than you were before. I cannot stress enough how many people I see in airports every single time I travel who do not know how to use their machine. And I don't care what age they are, but they do not use it to maximum effectiveness. With the amount of information that's available, learn how to use it and learn how to use it right. The computer industry is going to continue to fold, crash, burn, do all kinds of things, in my opinion, because, well, Gordon Moore, who just recently died, he had Moore's Law, and, we have more compute power at a cheaper and lower and lesser price than ever before. The question is, are you going to utilize it to your benefit? Are you going to utilize it to your advantage? And what are you going to do with it? This is the key question. And if you do that, then what we would have done today may have helped you a little bit. So for myself, John Paul Mendoza, Dr. Street Selling, and the ever lovely Sandra, this has been the Raging Verbalist, number 175, and we will see you on the next one. And all I can say is go out and buy what you need and learn how to use it.